Good morning. I should say bonjour, right? We are in French Hook here. So I thought it was a very nice idea to bring back Frenchmen here in French Hook for the keynote today. So I'm very thankful and very happy and delighted to be here today. Thank you to the entire KMSA organizing team, from Dr. Marty, Dr. Refidoe, and all my old friends like Kolani and so on. So thank you all for inviting me. It's my first time here in South Africa, and I've been here for a week, and I love it so far. So thank you so much for this nice opportunity and this nice experience to be with you here. So today I will share with you some of the findings we've gained, or some of the learning we've gained through the Global Mike Award winners. So I'm going to explain a bit more about what the Mike Award is all about. But you will see that through these findings, we can get a sense of what the state of knowledge management internationally, and hopefully this will help you also to bench learn, not benchmark, but bench learn, to see a bit if some of the good things you are doing also are similar to what others are doing, or get maybe some new ideas for you can apply to your context and environment. So I have a lot of things to share. Maybe I will go a bit rapidly on some of them, but you will get a copy of the slide deck, so you will be able to go back to it at a much slower pace. And of course, hopefully during the upcoming 3 days, we'll get a lot of opportunities to share, exchange, and talk to each other. Let me rapidly tell you about my background. So I'm based in Thailand for the past 18 years. Before that, I was in the US, and so I'm been for past 18 years in Bangkok University, which is the largest private university in Thailand. So it's what we call a creative university. So creativity is embedded into everything we do in our curriculum, but also in the environment, as you can see. So I manage the Center of Excellence that is called the Institute for Knowledge and Innovation Southeast Asia. So really all our faculty and teams are specialized in KM or in innovation management. So that's what we do and only do. So we do lots of things through the Center of Excellence. So we organize some corporate training. You may have heard about the OKS, the Organizational Knowledge Sharing Certificate program that we run also annually with the World Bank. We do organize a lot of conferences, academic but also professional conferences. We are part of different network, and among them is a KM Global Network, and KMSA also is part of this network. We organize the Mike Award that we'll talk about today. So we organize it for Southeast Asia and also the Global Mike Award. We have two programs. One is a Master in Innovation Management, and one is a PhD in Knowledge and Innovation Management. So we have been running this PhD for 14 years now. It's an online program, so if some of you don't have to come to Bangkok. So if some of you at some stage are interested in doing a PhD, please get in touch. We starting next year, we will have also an integrated master and PhD program. So if you just have a bachelor and would like to directly jump to a master and PhD, we'll have also a program next year which allows to do that. And then, of course, we do all kind of research as part of what we do. So this is in a nutshell what we do in Southeast Asia. So today I will talk to you about the Mike Award. So you may have heard in the past about the Make Award that was been popular for almost 20 years. The Most Admired Knowledge Enterprise Award that was run from UK. And in 2018, we switched to what we call the Mike Award. So we replace the A by an I. So from Admire, we moved to Innovative, so Most Innovative Knowledge Enterprise. to recognize that, well, innovation, knowledge drives innovation, and that should be also a component that we want to assess hand in hand with how organizations are excelling in their knowledge management initiative. So we'll have a session later on today at 2:15 that I will co-facilitate with CBWay, where we will explain to you in detail, I mean, if you are interested or if your organization is interested in applying, what are the different criteria, what is the process, or how the evaluation performs. So I will go in much more detail, and CBWay will share also his experience with GoTrain and how they apply and successfully gain the award. So I will just briefly touch on it now, and again, we'll go back in much more detail later on. So the idea of the Mike Award is to try to identify the innovation and knowledge management capability of organization. And this is done through an intellectual capital approach. So we are looking at how organizations have a mature intellectual capital elements. And so we make the analogy a bit of the DNA of the organization. We look at the DNA of the organization to see how well prepared it is or how strong it is to manage knowledge and innovation. So this is done through looking at three different dimensions of intellectual capital, human capital, with two indicators. And again, I will go back to them this afternoon in more detail. Another dimension, which is a relational capital, so how organizations are connecting and building the network and relationship internally, but also externally. And the third dimension is a structural capital. So here there are two sub-dimensions, what we call the process capital. So all the process in place to manage the flow of knowledge and innovation, and also the innovation capital. So focusing much more on the cultural aspect and how also ideas are moved to a successful product or services. So these are the 8 criteria that support the Mike Award. So organizations are expected to explain what they do about it. And then we have a set of evaluators who look into it and judge how mature they are in this 8 dimension. There is another dimension, which is the innovation performance that we'll talk about also more in detail this afternoon. Okay, so what I will share with you now is what we've learned through these 21 organizations that won the Global Mike Award last year. So we always have some outstanding winners. So there are 3 organizations, one from China, one from UAE, and one from Hong Kong, who were selected as the outstanding, so that their level of expertise and excellence was a bit higher than the other one. But all the other 18 were also very, very high. So I will share with you what we've learned from them in the upcoming 40 minutes. And I will leave some time, of course, for Q&A at the end. So just to give you a bit of overview of where this organization which participated come from. So they came mainly from Asia. So 33% from Hong Kong. Hong Kong has been very, very active in knowledge management in the private and public sectors. We got some winners also from China, Thailand, Indonesia, India, and Iran, and United Arab Emirates. So this is an award which is open to any country or any, but maybe the awards have not reached yet every companies. We had some in the past, some participants from the US or other part of the world, but last year we had very few. So the scope of operation of these companies, for lots of them, 37% they operate internationally, also nationally for 29% of them, and some of them operate mainly locally. Now the profile, so you can see a bit government, private, state enterprise, NGOs, and even education. So we have universities who also apply every year, and one of them was rewarded with a Global Mike Award. sector of activity, I will say a tendency to have lots of emphasis on engineering, but not only. We have manufacturing and we have also public sector, which is well represented. When we look at the age, or how old are these organizations? So the average age is 57 years old, with the youngest 15 years old and the oldest 130 years old. So they are quite young organization, but also much more mature organization who won the award. Some of them are listed, 1/3 are listed, and 2/3 are not yet listed or might never be listed. Now, when we look at the who's in charge of the knowledge management, the unit in charge of the knowledge management in the organization, so we can see that they come a bit from different sectors, moving from human resources. Some of them are decentralized, meaning that they don't really have a KM unit, but KM is somehow embedded in subdivisions, and I mean, with of course knowledge champion at different levels. So I try just to organize them by families. So some of them are more managed by HR, HRD kind of, or learning and development units in the organization. Some of them are embedded or part of the innovation team, which is a great thing. And some of them are more linked to operational or quality insurance type of unit. So again, different companies have embed their KM unit or host their KM unit under different division, which is nice to see. And as we will see today, there is not a kind of a magic solution on. Well, I've been in knowledge management for 25 years, and 25 years ago we say, well, in 5 years from now, we'll no longer talk about knowledge management because it will be embedded into everything that organizations are doing. Now we are 25 years later, and unfortunately not all organizations have yet embedded, or some of them didn't yet fully understood the value and the power of properly managing knowledge. So hopefully this will come one day, but so far we have been waiting for more or less more than 30 years. Anyway, so who do this unit report to? So 30% at the strategic level, so directly to an executive member or an executive team. 24% to human capital or learning initiative, which I find it to be good. 24 more to service and operation. 10% to innovation, and 10% to more general governance dedicated. Okay. So it's good to see that 30% are directly linked to some executive level, which I guess gives them the power to act and to make change happening, because unfortunately, very often, I mean, KM units are hosted or don't have the power to make change happen or slowly happen. And when they are directly linked to the executive level, I guess it's much more power to do that. The innovation management unit also, I mean, are hosted by different units. Some of them, which come from engineering background, are more linked to R&D team. The one which are more in service kind of industry have their own unit or depend on other type of organization. We see also some decentralized approach for innovation management. So reporting, so some of them are directly associated with KM teams. Some of them are more linked to technology-related teams. Some of them are linked to business teams. Some of them are linked to research. Like I say, research maybe more in science and engineering. Okay, that's for the innovation management team. Okay, the size of this team, relatively small size. We can see, we can say around 60% have a KM unit between 1 to 7 employees. So this remain very small team, but very often, I mean, they have a KM champion in other units to support them. So the KM team, I've never seen really very, very large KM team in organizations, but they need, and usually the way they work is that they have support from in each unit. some people who are change agents or knowledge champions that helps also support their vision and their activities. Now, we asked them also if they were thinking about looking at this at the KM ISO standard, so 30401, which was released late 2018, early 2019, and there is a new version that will be released very soon with some minor adjustment. So 24% said that they are not interested at it yet. 52% are thinking about it. So I don't know if you guys have started to look into it. That's an interesting framework also to structure or somehow to benchmark to see. Even so, you don't want to be certified, but maybe a good way for you to make sure that you have all the elements in place in your organization to somehow align with this KM ISO standard. There is also an innovation management standard. So we asked them the same question, and we got roughly the same answer. So we didn't hear so much. Are any of you are thinking about being ISO 30401 certified? Or have any of you been looking into it yet? Not yet? You can raise your hand. Don't be shy. I will not put you on the spot. Just not yet. Okay. So look into it. Really, I mean, it's an interesting framework, and it's a good way to see that if what you're doing is already fulfilling some of these expectations. Now, we asked them, how do you expect your organization investment in KM to change over the next future? So we got some good news here. 48% say that it will increase a lot, and 43% that it will increase. So roughly, we got 90% of the respondents that show that there will be more and more investment in KM in their organization, which is a good news. Same thing for innovation. We asked them to what they perceive will be happening, and again, we see more and more investment that seems to. We may be here for many more years. What are the biggest opportunities for knowledge management to capitalize on right now? Where 24% say that more and more leaders, there is a need to more and more encourage or raise awareness about the value to knowledge management as a strategic asset, and they perceive that's the right time. And I believe all these new generative AI tools or AI tools also require some good knowledge repositories to be able to provide some valuable and insightful answers. And so hopefully this will be a new driver for executives to realize that, well, we need to maybe pay a bit more attention of the knowledge we have in-house and make sure we know what we know and that we somehow capture or structure as much as we can. 21% says new technology like AI can help KM scale and deliver more value. So I guess AI is a big thing nowadays, and I will talk a bit more about it in my closing talk on Wednesday. KM is essential as organizations strive to become more innovative. So again, more and more organizations see or realize the value and how KM can help to support systematic innovation in their organization. And that's something also which is very positive. And KM partnership with core business function and subject matter experts. So it's a bit more about how realizing that when KM can be a good tool to, I will not say break silos because we don't want to break silos, but bridge silos in organizations and internally, but also with different external stakeholders. So which business priority is most important for KM to enable and to support right now? operational efficiency, process improvement. So I guess the theme of this conference is about also achieving excellence. And again, this is reflected by the respondent too. So going back to the how KM bring value to improve existing operation is a key component. Continuous learning, which is also important, and lots of the organization participated do mention that they want to, or they are on the way to become learning organization. Innovation and experimentation, so also good news, and digital transformation. So KM also play an important role here in this digital transformation projects. The main threats that they perceive, so measuring KM impact is always a challenge. Well, unfortunately, because a lot of organizations just do KM because they believe, and they rightly believe, that it's good to be good for the organization, and for sure it is good, but if it's not clearly aligned with their business strategy, if there are not clear linkages on how KM will support, business operation or innovation, then it's very difficult to track how impactful KM was. So this initial step of linking the KM strategy, closely linking the KM strategy to the business strategy, with defining KPIs that are linked not to KM, but linked to the supporting the business strategy is important. So we don't care how many best practices we are producing every year, if that somehow these best practices are not in place to support or achieve our strategies, then we are not wasting our time, but we are not as effective as we want. So this linkage needs to be done clearly, and I believe if it's done clearly to start with, then we don't run with this issue of justifying the impact of KM. Employees are overworked and don't think they have time for KM. Well, that's a long, long story, right? Again, if KM is not embedded in the way they work, if KM is something people perceive as they have to do in addition to the work they have to do every day, then it's never going to work, right? So these processes need to be embedded in the way people work on a daily basis. KM may get lost in broader digital transformation, intelligent enterprise strategies. Yes, but who cares? As long as it's there, right? And as long as it's here to help and support, it doesn't matter we call it KM or not, right? As long as it's there and it supports the flow of knowledge, I say why not, right? And 15% see leaders are focused on what they see as more urgent problem and opportunities. Well, again, if to start with, KM is here to support their business strategy, there's no reason for them to say, well, we don't need it, because if you show that it helps, I don't see why they will stop such kind of initiative. So there's a lot of things to do by how the KM strategy is developed, and I believe there are answers to these challenges. Okay, so today I will talk about so organization are assessed about these 8 different dimensions. These are the overall scores that they got, this 21 organization. Close to the highest score they can get is 7. So this is the average score of they are not 21, they are 16, because some of them are renewed. So it's an internal thing, but overall they are performing quite highly. So they get a kind of a report that shows for each of the dimensions how well they are doing. Not going to spend too much time on this. So what I will share with you today is some of the findings related to criteria 7 and 8. 7 is really the knowledge management processes in place, and 8 are the innovation management also practices and processes in place. I believe these are some of the key indicators in the assessment. So, in terms of knowledge management, so we really look and ask organizations to tell us about what they do at the strategic level and what they do at the operational level. Okay, to make sure that things are happening at both levels and that there is a clear linkages between these two levels. So, almost all organizations have a clear process to identify and map critical knowledge, which is a good news. As we all know, we cannot manage the entire knowledge of the organization, or at least not to start with. So we better start by focusing on critical knowledge. And the organizations do have in place some knowledge mapping audits that they do regularly, some of them even annually, to identify, okay, what do we know, who knows what, and then also identifying how do they define critical knowledge, right? So usually critical knowledge is knowledge that has a high value, but which is also at risk. So meaning that maybe only one expert in the organization knows how to do this particular task or how to handle this particular process. And so if it's not identified early on, and if this person decides to leave the organization, of course, this knowledge will be lost. So identifying critical knowledge helps to identify these different skills that are owned by maybe a few people, and to put in place some processes later on, so for this knowledge to be shared, transferred to others, so it doesn't rely on a single individual. Then later on, they identify, so who are the people, subject matter experts, who own this kind of knowledge, and then later on also embed this learning or this knowledge mappings into job-related mappings and so on. So make sure that people also are trained, who might be working in this position, are trained with such kind of skills and knowledge. So that was nice to see that. And like I said, most of the organizations do have this systematic way to do that. Now, what else? We try to group some of the challenges that we found they were facing and what they did about it. So came up with 7 challenges. So the first one is, I guess, something that every organization is facing: knowledge loss due to high turnover and retirement. In Asia, we have very high. Most organizations have a high turnover. People don't stay very long; they move to another company to get a higher title or higher salary, and it's sometimes difficult to keep people on board. And of course, retirement. I think lots of countries have an aging population, and sometimes a big gap in their pyramid of age. So you have a lot of younger or junior employees coming in, and a lot of senior ready to retire. Then in between, you have very often a big gap. And so how to make sure that you transfer. So these are some of these measures that this organization have taken. So put in place some mentoring mechanisms to make sure that again the more junior people get some support. Tutoring system, post-retirement service contract, having very often to call back people who retired to come back to learn or share or transfer their knowledge to the younger generation. So it happens a lot. Well, it happened even with big company like NASA in the US, which at some point had to go back to when the US decided, or NASA decided to go back to the moon. They didn't have much information left about their past journey. A lot of it was lost, so they had to call back some of the retired engineers to share some of their experience and so on, or what they could recall from their old experience and so on. But that's something which is possible. We see that, I don't know if here it's happening, but in Asia we see sometimes people retiring a bit, not so willing to share their knowledge because they know that they might be called back. They will be contracted with high salaries to do that. So, but I will say usually experts, I mean, when you're an expert, I mean, you have gained a lot of experience. Even if you share your part of some knowledge capture, make activities, I mean, you just share a top portion of what you know, and maybe 20-30% of what you know. There is so much of embedded knowledge or what we call tacit knowledge that you cannot really share, even if you're willing to share it. So it's nice to be able to bring them back, yes. Knowledge exchange program from young engineers, knowledge retention program. So part of the work we do also, sometimes we create what we call knowledge books. So working with which is not really a book, but it's a system where we spend 1 week with an expert and capture his or her knowledge and structure it in a way that others can reuse it. So through models and so on. So there are lots of techniques on what we call knowledge engineering that helps to capture the knowledge of experts. Succession planning and mentorship programs. So we see that document tacit knowledge through interviews, video interviews, or all kind of approach. Again, management of personnel, change in critical position procedures. And again, this is possible only if you have early on identify what your critical knowledge is. So there are all kind of activities that you can see that are done to transfer knowledge from intergeneration and also, among existing employees. Second one is about knowledge silos and lack of collaboration and sharing. I think it's happening again in every organization. And like I say, we don't want to break silos. We want to bridge silos. So to make sure that, in each silos, in each unit, there is some core expertise and knowledge. So it needs to stay there, but you need to find ways to bridge it, transfer it with other units, and so on. So, of course, technology shows up. Okay. And just here to go back, you can see here there is almost no technology involved, right? So, which is also, again, knowledge is intangible, right? Is experiential. So yes, technology. I know there is a lot of technology people here and technology sponsors. So yes, technology is important. Is a strong enabler to successful KM initiative. But at the end of the day, also there is a need to find ways for people to share and transfer their knowledge, their experience, and then technology still have some challenge to manage this or to capture or transfer this tacit dimensional aspect of knowledge. So KM is not all about technology, even so again it plays a very important role. So here we can see more KM portal to support the transfer across different units. Knowledge ambassador networks, which are also important, and again similar to knowledge champions, and having this knowledge champion in every different unit. Work, talk to each other, share with each other, or even develop communities of practice of knowledge champions can be a good thing. Communities of practice, so just mentioned. Some of them develop some wisdom buffet. We have all learned about knowledge cafes, but when you after a knowledge cafe, you still feel a bit hungry, right? So here you move to the next level. That's a knowledge buffet. So it requires a bit more investment, but you leave the room more fulfilled. I'm just joking. Social media applications, so mini blogs, having people to share frequently what they do and internally for social media. What do we have? Knowledge cafes that talks about cross-functional technical groups when possible. Knowledge sharing sessions. So again, a lot of different type of activities that they put in place to try to help to support this collaboration and knowledge flows across division. Knowledge security and confidentiality. So here we are really tapping into the, I will say the more IT dimension of it. So I will not spend too much time on it. Not that it's not interesting, but I think that's more IT based. One interesting thing is the talk about intellectual property series of master classes and security. So again, raising awareness and having classes for every employee to realize, some of the challenges also or the risk associated with lack of proper security information management. Okay, and there is also an ISO standard on information security that you can also benchmark. Okay, lack of structure for knowledge capture and management, so difficulty to systematically identify, capture, and organize knowledge. So that's what knowledge management is all about. So lots of organizations do have their own model. This is an example here, capture, share, create, and reapply model. Again, KM portals are used to store or organize knowledge when it has been captured. Yeah, so we see a lot of them still put a lot of emphasis on what we call codification, so capturing and documenting, articulating knowledge to more easily diffuse it later on. Also because a lot of these organizations are big, large organizations, sometimes based in different countries, so it makes it easier when it has been captured to be transferred. Yes, also in place peer assist, after action review, retrospect, so learning before a project, learning during a project, and learning after a project. So again, if such kind of practices are put in place, this helps to capture and reuse more easily knowledge. These are very simple to put in place, and they have really a strong effect on making sure that knowledge flow in the organization. Ineffective use application of knowledge and difficulty to access it. And yeah, we can see some interesting things here. I mean, using maybe some new approach, like I mean, doing video interviews or video recording some people performing some particular task, more on the technical aspect. Having use of technologies like virtual reality to support, having some live demonstration on what how people perform tasks. Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, particularly with a new generation, it's very difficult to get them to read a long document, operation manual, or even so, it gets very abstract. So having much more engaging and lively way to present or share for people to learn, I think is very, very important. So we can see a lot of these companies are exploring, innovating in finding novel ways to transfer knowledge through more interactive and engaging type of session. Lack of learning and innovation culture. So we see some similar things. I just noticed the wisdom buffet is there twice. So lots of emphasis on eating here. But again, yeah, I mean, getting people to meet and share and transfer, I think is very important. And I'm sure in the African culture, that's something also you do very naturally. But maybe in other country and culture, that's not so often. So getting people to sit and talk and share, I think is part of the solution. Identifying skills and critical knowledge. We talked a bit about this early on, but yes, identifying experts easily, providing employees easy access to find who knows what in the organization. Again, that should be something that every organization has and has been in place for a long time, but we still don't see this happening. And unfortunately, that's a waste of a lot of inefficiencies and a waste of resources not putting it in place. Now, I'm not going to go in detail about this, but I'm going to do it, but through this table, which is much more readable. So we'll ask organization, we looked at what kind of tools they are using, KM tools this time. So this is a frequency on how many organizations did mention. So they do have in play tool and practices. So they all have knowledge sharing sessions, which is good news. So 18 of them mentioned using their KM portal, intranet, or KMS system as a main tool to support knowledge management. We see communities of practice. That was, I mean, to me, communities of practice is one of the most powerful KM tools. And we see company or organizations that have them in place and properly manage them are quite successful. And you have organizations that have hundreds of communities of practices running, and there is so much sharing happening for this thing. So communities of practice are quite quite successful. Also, e-learning, learning management system, and internal training platform came back quite frequently into as a tools for this machine, for this organization. And the use of internal social network apps like chatting apps or instant messaging are becoming also quite popular tool for organization or for people to share and exchange knowledge. Now, there is, I don't know, it's a very old research paper that was published in Harvard Business Review by Hansen, Noria, and Tierney, but look at what's your strategy for managing knowledge in your organization. And so they kind of group it into two approaches, what we call the codification approach and the personalization approach. The codification approach is organization trying to, well, capture and structure, document the knowledge that they possess later on to be able to share it and transfer it more easily. And second one, personalization. So getting people to connect, so to easily identify who knows what, so people can connect and share and work with each other. So what they say in this paper is that organizations should have both approach in place, but of course they might have a dominant one in place. So they say, well, what they preach at the time is said, well, or you can have an 80% codification approach with a 20% personalization, so focusing more on a documentation type of approach, or you could have the opposite, 80-20%. So that's what they preach, and it raised a lot of debate around this because they found this ratio to be quite extreme. And what they were saying is that what they were saying originally is that you should not have a balanced approach 50-50%. They say you should focus on one as a major one, but not both of them equally. So what we found through our Global Micro Award winners, that's a bit different. So we saw that 50% really had the strong emphasis on codification. Only 5% had a strong emphasis, so meaning at least 80% on personalization, but 50% had a balanced approach. Okay, so we can see that that in fact organizations do balance both, and having one too extreme is probably not the best way to approach. Okay, now. Talking about the use of AI into their KM initiative. So we could say that 9 out of 22. So these are 24 winners. So this means that they wrote their application in early 2024. So again, AI was still being embedded, but we can see some of them starting to embed AI tools into their KM approach. So these are some of the main different ways they are doing it, as search engines or as providing platforms that push knowledge to whoever might need it whenever they need it, or just as a chatbots to support internal chatbots. Okay, so in terms of innovation, in fact, we use this approach of the 10 types of innovation. We ask organizations to tell us what kind of innovation they focus on. And so based on the 10 types of innovation, you can see they are structured by process, offering, delivery, and finance. Because innovation can happen everywhere and should happen everywhere in the organization. It should not just be marketing or R&D or engineering pushing innovation. In everything we do, there is opportunities for innovation. So what we could see from the winners that most of the innovation emphasis was on process innovation, then on product innovation, then on service innovation. And then you can read the list. So again, we are talking about here operational excellence. So process innovation is still at the core of, and we could see also early on that knowledge management, the main objectives was then to support their main operations. Okay, type of innovation. So we can look at innovation for 3 different levels: incremental, so minor innovation of existing things, evolutionary evolution, which push a bit the limit further, and revolutionary evolutions, really looking at very disruptive type of innovation. Again, I just have 5 minutes left, so I'm rushing a bit, but you will have the slides. Again, what we saw from our for our winners, 50% focus on incremental innovation, but 50% also, I mean, let me rephrase that. It's not correct. The way that they balance their portfolio of innovation is based on putting 50% of their efforts, innovation efforts, on incremental innovation, 34% on evolutionary evolution, meaning pushing the limits a bit further, and a revolutionary 15% on revolutionary. So meaning looking at what will happen maybe in 5 or 10 years from now, but starting to already work on it. So it's an interesting balance compared to what usually we see in the literature that reach for 10%, 20%, and 70%. Here we can see that organizations are not just looking at incremental, so right now, but also looking at the future, which is a good news. Let me skip this one. Where do they get their ideas from? So a lot of organizations do have in place, some of them have some ideation platform where they can collect ideas and then later on move through the innovation funnel. Some of them get their idea, of course, from outside, so for their customers or their partners, which is also important. And some of them just get their innovation by just analyzing data that they collect or that they have access to. Again, use of AI in innovation. Okay, at different stage of the innovation process to support R&D, to support again the flow of knowledge, for customer service and engagement. I believe there's a lot of interesting applications that can help to see what customers are complaining about or what their needs or pain points are, and be able to learn from this huge amount of data that they are using. Okay, so just to conclude, I know it's a lot of content, but again, hopefully you will have time to go through it again more slower pace. So what we could see is that for most of this organization, there is indeed a strategic integration between KM and innovation. So they are not just separate entities that don't talk to each other. And it happened in some organizations. I've seen it many times. But they should work hand in hand, because to be able to systematically innovate, I guess you need to better manage your knowledge, which is to me the raw material for innovation. Companies adopt completely different multi-phased approach to KM and innovation management. There is no magic solution. And if there was a magic solution, we will not be here today. Every companies will have cut and paste this magic solution. So every organization needs to understand a bit what their culture is, what their objectives are, what challenge they have, and design some KM initiative around it that helps to support or evolve the culture. And there is no, once again, cookie cutter that will work. A need for balancing people-centric KM and techno-centric KM. We've seen some KM tool, but we've seen also a lot of ways for people to connect and to share with each other. We've seen also a strong emphasis on identifying critical knowledge, and we're identifying what companies knows. And again, if you don't know what you know, it's difficult to manage it, right? Plus, if you know what you know, you can also easily identify what you don't know. So knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know are very powerful approach. So you have this knowledge gap, right? And make sure that you focus on this knowledge gap. How do you develop or acquire the knowledge that you might need in the near future or in the future? But again, if you don't know what you know, you're kind of more or less blindfolded, and it's very difficult for you to develop some effective KM initiative. Companies actively manage and diversify their innovation portfolio. That's what I showed you in the past. So not just focusing on incremental innovation, which is easy improvement, but also looking at the much more revolutionary type of improvement. And companies that are going through digital transformation, for instance, have to go through this rethinking or reimagining or reinventing the future. And last point, so AI, yes, is taking a more important place as a tool, right? And for this, the tool here is just another KM tool. AI is not going to revolutionize the world of KM. At the end of the day, knowledge is in people's head and will always be what we extract from our head becomes information. So let's keep this in mind. And yes, for sure, AI will be great and will do good things for KM. Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. And looking forward to interact with you. We have few minutes for Q&A. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them now or during the break or anything else.
From me, I saw a lot of IT, a lot of nodding heads, a lot of people agreeing, a lot of frowns here and there. I'll take one or two, maybe two. Keep it short. Questions? Comments?
A question over here? Yeah.
If you have a long story, keep it for the break.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. My question is, what would you advise an organization that is still in the early stages of knowledge management, also trying to move through the centers of excellence? Thank you.
Yes, so thank you for your question. What I will advise, again, going back, I think, on what I said earlier on, is to have a clear KM strategy, right? I mean, knowing exactly how KM is going to help your organization, making it clear for everyone to understand. And then when it's clear, then you can do some kind of assessment to see a bit what are your strengths and weaknesses, your existing strengths and weaknesses in terms of knowledge sharing and transfer, and then design the action plan that will help to do this. But to me, early on defining a clear KM strategy with key indicators and metrics is important because it's clear where you're going and you're not just doing things which will add value, but indirectly will be difficult to measure. So there are lots of tools. APQC, for instance, the American Productivity Quality Consortium, has a lot of templates of tools like this you can easily use to map your knowledge, to identify your critical knowledge or whatever, and that can be easily applied or to link again your KM strategy to your business strategy, and to me make it also clear and simple of what's in it for your employees, right? Because that's the first thing they're going to say. What's in it for me? Why should I engage into this KM initiative? I'm already so busy with so many things. So if you make this message clear and you communicate well about it, and you get also support from your executives that walk the talk and say, okay, that's what we want to do, and they also openly share knowledge. So it's not like we ask you guys to share knowledge, but for us at the high level, we keep it for ourselves or whatever. So they need to walk the talk. So storytelling, such kind of approach are very, very powerful tool for everyone to realize that, well, we are all learning together. We will all benefit from these initiatives, and we should work hand in hand, because at the end of the day, that's something that will help everyone out of this. It's not just an additional task that we ask you because we have this idea in mind. But great, thank you for your question. Hopefully, I answered it too. Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you for a comprehensive presentation. I just wanted to find out, in your presentation, you made mention of the fact that 24% of the companies that responded to the survey have indicated that, it is very hard to measure the impact of KM, right? But I also have seen that we do have the ISO 30401, which outline specifically, the metrics to measure our performance against the targets. I just want to find out whether going forward with the advent of AI, won't that also reduced, because that complexity that they are talking about, we want it reduced, and it becomes even much easier to measure the impact of care.
Thank you for your question. So, AI will, for sure, will help to support a lot of this, different dimension of the KM processes. So, for instance, being able to easily identify knowledge, being able to more easily capture some of the knowledge which has been previously codified. Now, I'm not sure if it will really help to support the impact it has, because the support, to measure the impact, you have to understand how people use it and applied it, right? And how by applying it, it somehow make a difference. And again, it goes back to this alignment between the KM strategy and so on. To me, was transferred and people then behave directly or made better decision to it. And this, to me, AI will, it's just a tool among the others, but it will not really change things. But it will help people be more effective or probably make better decisions. But at the end of the day, to demonstrate the impact of KM, you need to have a clear linkage between, okay, we wanted to improve customer satisfaction. We had customer satisfaction at this level before we implemented KM. We implemented some KM practices. Now our customer satisfaction has improved by 10%. Then you have some clear metrics and you say, yes, we had an impact and we are able to measure it. But I don't think AI indirectly will support to make it happen, but it will not, if there is not this clear linkage, it will not help to better highlight the impact of KM. From my point of view, I might be wrong, but that's how I see it. But it's a wonderful tool, and it will help support a lot KM management, KM process. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we're just running a bit short on time, but no question. Right now, no question. We will go quickly. Because you are presenting later today, so if you it's a one question. Your face, I don't know your hands.
So we'll have, or during the break or anytime.
Yes. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's insightful. I enjoyed it.